most of you know that my name is Barbara McMillan and that I serve as president of Blue Mountain Christian University. It is my great privilege on behalf of the university and the Mississippi Humanities Council to welcome you to this special event. We will hear shortly a lecture by the 2025 Humanities Teacher Award recipient here at Blue Mountain Christian University. I will introduce our speaker in just a few minutes. Before she comes, though, to share with us, we also have with us a very special guest, and I would like to offer a special word of welcome to Dr. Stuart Rockoff, who is the Executive Director of the Mississippi Humanities Council. He and I have had an opportunity to visit in the last hour, and I was so pleased to be able to welcome him for the first time to Blue Mountain Christian University. So join me in welcoming him. Dr. Rockoff, you come and speak to us.
Thank you, Dr. McMillan. Yeah, I've been to every college, community college, university in this state, except for Blue Mountain. So when we got the list of Humanities Teacher Award lectures, I'm like, I want to go to Blue Mountain, and I put it in my calendar, and so I am so pleased to be here today. The Mississippi Humanities Council is pleased to honor Dr. Rosalyn Rutland for her outstanding teaching here at Blue Mountain. Each year we recognize a Humanities Teacher Award winner at each of our state's colleges and universities. The awardee is asked politely to present a lecture on the humanities theme subject of their choice. They will receive a cash award and will be publicly recognized for their achievements during our Public Humanities Awards Gala in Jackson on March 28th. I know it's a long way away, but if you'd like to join us, we would love to have you as our guest. Since our founding in 1972, we have recognized that Mississippi scholars and teachers like Dr. Rutland show the importance of the arts and humanities in creating engaged and informed citizens. At the Humanities Council, our motto is the humanities are for everyone, and this is true both for students here at Blue Mountain, for the people of Tippah County, and even Union County, and everywhere across the state. The council is an independent nonprofit organization supported by the National Endowment for the Humanities and also by grants and donations from private foundations, corporations, and individuals. What we do is we support a wide range of programs across Mississippi that help us explore our rich history and culture. In fact, I learned a lot about the rich history of this very school and the church and the community, and we even were getting to like brainstorm ways that we might be able to help y'all in preserving and sharing those extraordinary stories. We create opportunities for Mississippians to learn about themselves and the larger world and enrich communities through civil conversations about our history and culture. We invite you all to join us in this work. You can go to our website, mshumanities.org. You can find us on social media to learn more about us and our programs. And before I turn it back over to Dr. McMillan to introduce our lecturer, I do want to share with you, in addition to the cash award and the lecture and the ticket to our awards gala, you do get a certificate. So let's get if you wouldn't mind. I'm going to commandeer someone.
I see that we also have some special guests in the audience, some visitors, and we are very glad that you all have joined us this afternoon. We're so proud of our speaker today and that you are here to support her. Dr. Rosalyn Rutland is Assistant Professor of Spanish and Program Coordinator in the Department of Language and Literature at Blue Mountain Christian University, where she's been teaching Spanish since 2016. Hard to believe. Born in the Dominican Republic, she's a native speaker of Spanish. She moved to Itawamba County, Mississippi in 1991 and resides there with her husband and children. Before coming to BMCU, she taught Spanish and English as a second language at Tupelo High School and was an adjunct instructor at Itawamba Community College. In addition, Dr. Rutland has taught conversational Spanish in the workforce to enable supervisors and management to communicate with their Spanish-speaking employees, and she initiated the Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages TESOL major and concentration here at BMCU. Dr. Rutland received her Bachelor of Arts in Spanish teaching from Mississippi University for Women, her Master of Arts in Foreign Language from Mississippi State University, and her PhD in Second Language Studies from the University of Mississippi. In addition to being a gifted educator and a serious scholar, Dr. Rutland is for us at Blue Mountain Christian University a cherished and delightful colleague. Would you join me in welcoming Dr. Rosalyn Rutland to the podium?
Well, good afternoon, and first I want to say thank you for all of you who have taken time to come listen to this lecture. Thank you, Dr. McMillan and Dr. Rockoff, and faculty, staff, family, and friends. I have titled this lecture, Educators Perceive Biliteracy as a Resource for Students in Mississippi. Today's lecture is a portion of a qualitative study I conducted as part of my dissertation, which was called Listening to the Voices of Educators in the Implementation of the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy. The results I will be discussing today indicated that the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy was perceived as a resource to students at our state because it promotes biliteracy and the benefits that come with it. Spanish-speaking Latinos face obstacles in Spanish maintenance, especially in intergenerational transmission. In other words, passing it to the next generation. Escobar and Patowski, 2015. Even though in the United States, Spanish has enjoyed loyalty and maintenance at a social level, greatly due to immigration, Spanish-English bilingualism has experienced a shift to English at the individual level. Silva Carbalan, 1994. This shift in individuals' language use has yielded a decline in generational transmission of Spanish. As a result of cultural and institutional pressure, lack of cognitive and maturational development, Porcel 2006, lack of opportunity to use the language, and the fear of not knowing English, the language pattern in the United States can be described as an individual who arrives speaking Spanish. They have children who are Spanish-English bilinguals, and their grandchildren are monolinguals of English. Escobar and Patowski, 2015. As described by Coles, 1993, typically, by the third generation, only the majority language is spoken in all socio-functional domains. Even though current educational laws protect Spanish speakers' rights in schools, there is an inconsistent educational support across the states for Spanish and bilingualism in grades lower than high school. And there are even fewer educational opportunities in early childhood education. The shift from Spanish to English begins with school enrollment, Montreal 2008, Hidalgo 1993. A typical pattern is that children show parallel or balanced bilingual development until the ages of 3 or 4, with a shift to English after ages 5 and 6, when they begin to attend school in the majority language. After 5 to 6 years of age, the majority language asserts dominance, and the development of heritage language slows down, stagnates, and even regresses in specific grammatical areas. The attainment of balanced bilingualism after the age of 4 is not common in heritage speakers in the United States, Montreal 2018. The very young and the very old maintain Spanish, while the shift to English is more prevalent around school-aged children and the younger adults in the workforce, Hidalgo 1993. Benefits of bilingualism. Bilingualism is a beneficial skill to all students. A study conducted by Fox et al. 2019 analyzed 100 empirical studies that revealed the benefits attributed to language studies and bilingualism ranging from cognitive, academic, and social competence, far-reaching from infancy to adulthood and even advanced age. The research conducted in children showed benefits of higher performance in bilinguals for challenging language tasks compared to their monolingual peers. The more balanced the bilingualism in the children, the better they performed on nonverbal tasks despite the socioeconomic differences. Bilingual children developed metalinguistic awareness earlier than their monolingual peers. In the preschool age range, learning 2 languages from infancy is associated with higher inhibitor control development. This is think before you act. During school transitions, even in children of low socioeconomic background. Another benefit is cognitive flexibility, allowing bilingual children to easily shift between mental sets, cognitive tasks, social interactions, showing greater flexibility, analyzing the meaning of words, and demonstrating more efficient language skills than monolinguals. Also, early bilingual exposure has produced positive changes in the language areas of the brain, Fox et al. 2019. Bilingualism benefits are more evident in the individuals who have participated in immersion programs. They academically outperform their monolingual peers, even in the language of the monolingual peers, dispelling the belief that bilingualism negatively influences the language of academics. Fox et al. 2009, Thomas and Collier 1993. Also, Rubinstein and Lufkin 2019 claim a correlation between bilingual and being intelligent, having good memory skills, and achieving academically high levels. Bilingual benefits are not only seen in children. In adults, instruction using language immersion induced neuroplasticity in the brain proportionally to the language experience. In adults as well as children, it is an advantage in spatial reasoning. There is an advantage in spatial reasoning, which potentially leads to higher academic achievement. Brain research, Fox et al. 2019, also shows that bilinguals have a later onset of dementia and Alzheimer's than those who are monolinguals, suggesting that knowing more than one language promotes mental health, especially into the later years, even for those who become bilinguals at a later time in their lives. Mackey 2014. With respect to social benefits, it is pertinent to be reminded that bilinguals acquire the practices that allow them to have appropriate social interactions in multicultural situations. Bilinguals are not just able to cognitively speak 2 or more languages, but they also are aware of social practices that may not be noticeable, such as gender roles, personal space, humor, manners, rules of conduct, gestures, and many more that are not usually taught in a classroom, but that are acquired in the interactions with peers and various cultures. Pavlenko 2014. These benefits develop because of the accumulation of time learning another language while receiving intentional instruction in intercultural development. Fox et al. 2019. Or being part of a community that affords social interactions with other bilingual members or world language speakers. After mentioning the previous benefits, it can be clearly seen why higher employability is another benefit for bilingual adults and world language learners. This is true for adults who are seeking jobs in the public spheres like government, public administration, health, education, and information services. Fox et al. 2019. It is pressing for educators to understand that bilingualism is beneficial to everyone, especially students. It is possible for different educational institutions to hold different orientations that range from supporting to opposing bilingual education at any point in history. Rees' 1984 framework identifies the major educational orientations as language as problem, language as right, language as resource. While looking historically at the policies adopted about bilingualism, it appears that the policies at the beginning of the 20th century had a language as problem orientation where the home language was a problem that needed to be corrected. Then in the middle of the 20th century, there was a shift influenced by the civil rights movement to language as right that later produced a reaction against this view, which Rees' 1984 predicted in the 90s. And then finally, in the 21st century, education moved to a language as resource perspective. As Rees' 1984 explains, language as resource orientation is more useful to language planning because it does not bring oppositions or tensions that language as problem and language as right has. Instead, it makes for a more cooperative way of learning, planning, elevating the status of languages, like Spanish in a state like Mississippi that has English as its official language. Biliteracy has a language as resource orientation for the literacy of both English and other languages. Still, Rees' 1984 raises the concern of how resources are deployed. Sometimes resources like language communities are not valued, but instead take it for granted. It is very common for bilingual children to begin attending schools that have English transitional programs that lead to a shift to English and loss of their home languages. Then, at later ages, these same institutions want these same students to have them in classes of their own home language many times after they've experienced the shift to English. Rees' 1984 implies that there needs to be more of a resource, quote, conversation, end quote, about the languages spoken in our immigrant communities. This brings us to the notion of how bilingualism is viewed in the U.S. According to Fuller and Lehman 2020, the way bilingualism is viewed depends on who the speaker is. In other words, when an English speaker is a learner of Spanish, it is considered an asset. But when a student is a Spanish speaker and is learning English, then the first language can be viewed as a problem. Language policies influence attitudes and perspectives in language education. So it's necessary to document attitudes, perspectives held by educators about policies such as the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy, because perspectives impact practice, Johnson 2013. The goal of the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy is to support promotion-oriented perspectives of world languages, language planning that has the ability to influence social change, Cooper, 1989. The text and discourse of a language policy are influenced by ideologies held by policymakers, Johnson 2013. Language policy in Mississippi. Educational systems are recognizing the value of Spanish and the benefits of Spanish-English bilingualism. Although Spanish is considered a world language, it does not enjoy the same status that English holds as a majority language in the United States. Creating a positive perspective towards Spanish and English biliteracy requires a change in perception of status that Spanish holds in many states, including the state of Mississippi. The state of Mississippi made English its official language in 1987, enacting Mississippi Code 3-3-31, requiring all documents to be produced by the state agencies or governmental entities of the state in English only. However, the code was later amended in 2010, requiring that all government documents be published in English unless otherwise required by federal law or regulation. The education policy for speakers of other languages in Mississippi has consisted of English transitional education programs. According to Rees' 1984, these types of programs promote an orientation of non-English languages as a problem. In other words, Spanish shifts to English instead of being maintained through educational support. Nevertheless, on October 10, 2019, the Mississippi Department of Education adopted the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy, changing the educational language policy from English only to English plus another world language, which potentially elevated Spanish and other world languages to a status closer than English in the districts that have adopted the policy. This policy promotes bilingualism and supports Spanish language in schools, Mississippi Seal 2022. Also, it promotes an orientation of language as resource from which, according to Rees 1984, both native and non-native English speakers benefit. It must be determined if the adoption of this policy is accomplishing its goal of raising the status of Spanish and other non-English languages, not only in policy but also in practice. Key individuals implementing and participating in this policy must have an orientation of language as resource, not only for Spanish, but also for other non-English languages spoken in the homes of students attending public schools. The perceptions held by educators in Mississippi must be investigated, since the status of a language in a community will either lead to its maintenance or shift, depending on the ideologies created by the majority, Johnson 2013. The Seal of Biliteracy began as a grassroots movement created by educators and language advocates in California, and its inception was adopted in 2011 by the California legislature to support home language use by English learners and heritage language learners while promoting non-EL world language competence, De Leon 2014. The Seal of Biliteracy has been adopted in all 50 states, including Hawaii and Alaska. South Dakota was the last state to adopt it on January 30th, 2024. Seal of Biliteracy 2025. The state Seal of Biliteracy promotes the use of English plus another language beyond social interaction, incorporating academic skills like reading, writing, along with listening, Hornberger 2003. Some places like Washington State recognize not only world languages, but also indigenous and less spoken languages, David and Heineke 2017. The Seal of Biliteracy is a relevant policy for investigation due to the rapid shift to English in the minority speakers who live in the U.S. by the third generation, ending its transmission to future generations. Limited Spanish transmission is an effect of lack of opportunity to use the minority language, Escobar and Patowski, 2015. The Seal of Biliteracy hopes to support home language in schools and promote the value of proficiency in English plus another language, also in 2012. More specific to our state, the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy is a bottom-up policy that began with Edgar Serrano, a Spanish instructor who spearheaded the policy as a way of promoting multilingualism in Mississippi schools. The seal was adopted by the Mississippi Department of Education on October 10, 2019, to promote proficiency in English plus another world language. Later, in 2023, Serrano led the way in promoting college credits of the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy at the University of Mississippi, in which students can receive from 3 to 6 hours of college credit, depending on the proficiency of their scores. Rosalyn Rutland, 2023. This language policy establishes minimum criteria for school districts, and it offers resources in awarding the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy to students on their high school transcript for universities and future employers to view, in hopes that their linguistic skills are recognized and make students more competitive in a global world market. In a global market. Mississippi awards two levels of the seal. Students must meet the English and world language requirement, which are MDE-approved assessments with specific scores of those assessments. The Silver Seal requires a functional fluency level of intermediate mid-range, and the Gold Seal requires a working fluency level of advanced low range. The candidates are not required to be at the same level in both English and the world language, but a student must have an advanced low range in both English and the other language to receive a gold seal, a gold seal, Mississippi Seal 2022. Currently, 20 schools and districts, as shown on Map 1, Allen 2025, have adopted the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy. The first was Pascagoula-Gaucher School District in 2019. The 9 school districts adopted the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy in 2020. Petal, Philadelphia Public, DeSoto County, George County, Clinton Public, Jones County, Scott County, Starkville-Oktibbeha Consolidated School District, and Gulfport. 3 other school districts adopted the seal in 2021, Oxford, Jackson Public, and Boonville School District. 5 more schools adopted the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy in 2022, Walthall County, Rankin County, Mississippi School of Mathematics and Science, Columbia, and Madison County School District. And finally, 2 districts have adopted the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy in 2024. These were Pearl Public School District and Biloxi Public School District, Mississippi Seal 2025. My research aim was to document the benefits, barriers, and policy perceptions of teachers, administrators, and counselors on the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy in 2 schools in North Mississippi. The nature of the study is a generalization of perspectives held by educators of 2 schools, not a comparative study of 2 schools with similar sample sizes. This meaningful study adds information to the limited existing literature of benefits, barriers, and perceptions on the implementation of the Seal of Biliteracy in schools like in school districts of states like Illinois, Davin-Heineke 2018, Minnesota, Davin-Heineke 2017, Washington State, Heineke-Davin-Davila 2019, and California, Castro-Santana 2014. This study takes a qualitative approach, gathering and triangulating data from different sources to find emerging patterns and themes. Creswell 2018. Since this project seeks to explore perspectives from 3 educator groups using 2 main data collection methods, a qualitative study was the most logical. This study employed 2 sets of instruments. 1, a questionnaire with closed and open responses to gather participant background information and their perceptions on the benefits, barriers, and different types of perspectives on the implementation of the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy. 2, semi-structured interviews of participants in all 3 groups to discover the reasons for the perspective, attitudes, misconceptions held, and the impact on their practice. Okay. Although both schools are part of an A-rated district, the highest rating for a school district in Mississippi, and are A-rated schools themselves, these schools have economically challenged student, but have an economically challenged student body. These schools are listed as having 99% and 100% economically disadvantaged students with a strong graduation rate of 92% in the adopting school and 90% in the non-adopting school. The adopting school has a student body of around 365 students, of which 28.9% are minority students and 0.8% are of Hispanic ethnicity. The non-adopting school has a student body of around 2,006 students, of which 63.7% are minority students and 8.1% are of Hispanic descent. Best high schools ranking U.S. News 2023. According to the educators of both schools, the world language enrollment in the adopting school is around 31% of the student population, around 116 students a year, with 1 Spanish dominant world language teacher. while in the non-adopting school, the world language enrollment is around 20% of the student population, around 410 students a year, with 5 English-dominant world language teachers. The number of students to world language teacher is similar in both schools, with a higher percentage of world language enrollment and slightly more students per world language teacher in the adopting school. The participant groups are divided into main categories. Educators in a Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy adopting school district and educators in a non-adopting school district. Under these 2 categories, there are 3 groups that represent educators in each high school: teachers, administrators, and school counselors. The teacher group is made of 2 subgroups: world language teachers and English teachers. These 2 groups of teachers were chosen because the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy requires that students be proficient in both English and at least 1 world language, Mississippi Seal 2022. The adopting school only employs 2 administrators, 1 world language teacher, and 1 counselor, while the non-adopting school employs 5 world language teachers, 8 counselors, and 5 administrators. There was a strong representation of educators in both schools according to the number of educators relevant to the study. The smaller adopting school provided 4 participants that included 1 administrator, 2 teachers, 1 English, 1 Spanish, and the only counselor in the school. The non-adopting school provided 22 participants that included 5 administrators, 10 teachers, 5 world language, 5 English, and 7 counselors. The reason for the different sample sizes is because the adopting school employs fewer educators than the non-adopting school. At the onset of the research project, there was another school district that was chosen with more comparable numbers of educators. But unfortunately, I did not receive approval from the administration to conduct this study there, even after making multiple contacts. This difference in participants led the study to have a more exploratory nature, and the results will generalize to a larger population of the perceptions held by educators in a school that has adopted the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy versus one that has not adopted. Using a qualitative approach, Creswell 2018, the data was gathered, triangulated to find emerging patterns, themes from closed and open response questionnaires and semi-structured interviews for 3 sets of participants. According to Hyman and Croker 2009, this was done to reliably gather data from participants with different perspectives through various collection methods. Collected answers to the interviews and questionnaires were coded using a qualitative data analysis strategy as described by Saldana 2013. Codes from the data emerged were organized to form categories, themes, and sometimes subcodes that answer the research questions of this study. The results, finally, right? Okay, the most frequent answers from participants when asked about the benefits, advantages, and positive outcomes of the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy were educational benefits, career opportunities, recognitions of bilinguals, and the value of home language. Educational benefits and career opportunities are more general terms created to fit the benefits mentioned by the participants. Educational benefits were indicated by 17 out of 27 participants from both schools. 6 benefits of the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy referring to education fall under the educational benefits. These are promotion of language proficiency, beneficial to English learners, college readiness, better English and world language programs, college credit, and promotion of academic excellence. The first educational benefit, promotion of language proficiency, emerged from 6 participants in both schools. These were English teacher A, English teacher 2, English teacher 5, world language teacher 1, counselor 1, and admin 4. World language teacher 1 said that the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy encourages language importance, while admin 4 said that it encourages students to take a world language each year in high school. These educators perceive that the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy supports biliteracy, which is beneficial for students' education. The second educational benefit is that the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy is beneficial to English learners. 6 other participants indicated that it acknowledges English learners who frequently are not receiving awards in their classes. This new policy, quote, highlights students who are achieving things that other students are not, end quote, said World Language Teacher 4. ELs, or English learners, should be the primary population who benefits from this policy, concurred English Teacher 5. And this award gives them a boost of confidence, said English Teacher 4. And the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy promotes students who have fallen behind, promotes and supports students who have fallen behind due to the pandemic, noted English Teacher 1. The third benefit, college readiness, emerged with participants Counselor 1, Admin 2, and English Teacher 5. They indicated that the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy is another way to show that these students are prepared to enter college. Counselor 1 said that the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy makes these students, quote, more marketable for colleges, end quote. English Teacher 5 noted that it is an award that can be listed in the student's college application. The fourth educational benefit, better English and world language programs, emerged with participants Admin 3, World Language 2, World Language Teacher 2, who indicated that the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy would challenge world language program and world language and English art programs to increase their efficiency and, quote, up their game, end quote. The fifth educational benefit, college credit, came from the answers of World Language Teacher A, World Language Teacher 3, and Admin 5, who indicated that receiving college credit allows students to continue their world language learning after high school. Admin 5 said, quote, Pleb Spanish 1 and 2, you know, in any college to be going right into Spanish 3 or higher, end quote. The sixth benefit, promotion of academic excellence, emerged in the adopting school. Participants World Language Teacher A and Counselor A indicated that the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy encourages students to strive for academic excellence. The next benefit category is career opportunities, mentioned by 11 out of 27 participants from both schools. Under this benefit category, job opportunities and certification of bilingualism for employers were mentioned. The first career benefit, according to participants of both schools, is that the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy provides job opportunities. Bilingual/biliterate students have an advantage for job opportunities and better pay. This is according to English Teacher 3. They are also great candidates to be employed in the education system, according to Admin 1. They will be great communicators, according to Admin 5. All participants who mentioned job opportunity as a benefit said that the students will have great job opportunities as recipients of the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy. The second career opportunity benefit mentioned by a participant group was made up of World Language Teacher 1, World Language Teacher 2, World Language Teacher 5, and English Teacher 5. And they say that the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy certifies bilingualism for employers. As a result, students get a competitive edge in employability. In addition, participants indicated that the certification of students' bilingualism motivates students and gives them confidence. The next benefit the next benefit is recognition of bilinguals. So according to Admin 1, Admin 2, World Language Teacher 3, the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy acknowledges and recognizes students who are already bilinguals in the district. And they should be recognized for knowing other languages. World Language Teacher 4 also added that in adopting the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy, students can be recognized statewide and district-wide. All participants of the adopting school, Admin A, World Language Teacher A, Counselor A, and English Teacher A agreed that students should be recognized, and they describe how students should be recognized in their own district. Valuing home language is a benefit only mentioned by the world language teacher in the adopting school. She is the only Spanish native speaker participant in this study. The world language teacher A from the adopting school explained that in talking with parents of students who spoke a different language at home, the parents were very surprised and enthusiastic that their home language was valuable to their children's education and not just, quote, something I do at home, end quote. Another parent also indicated that her daughter was learning Russian from a grandparent and that she did not realize the value of home language until the implementation of the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy. Perceived challenges. Now, looking at the perceived challenges to the implementation of the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy, there were three major challenges mentioned. One, insufficient personnel for increasing workload of the implementation. Two, lack of awareness. And three, current curriculum course sequence in world languages. These challenges were indicated by all three participant groups. Some educators were more concerned with specific challenges than others, but overall, these challenges do not affect just one or two groups, but all educators. Indicated by 13 participants from all three groups of educators, the challenge of insufficient personnel for increasing workload of the implementation of Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy was the most concerning to educators of the non-adopting school. Also, the world language teacher A from the adopting school expressed insufficient personnel as a challenge. Participants from the non-adopting school felt that, like, adding another program would overload teachers and counselors. Implementing a new program would require additional personnel since they were already operating understaffed. The main concern raised in finding world language teacher was to teach upper level classes. Counselor 4 explained that they were operating, quote, short of one world language teacher. Counselor 3 was concerned not only with having enough world language teachers, but also ESL teachers and bilingual teachers. Quote, one is getting the teachers to teach it, and two, follow through with it because we already have a shortage of foreign language teachers. Like as far as these classes, having to have an ESL teacher or bilingual teacher, that would probably be the biggest challenge, end quote. Admin 4 also expressed the same concern, quote, it is hard to find teachers to teach upper level tiers of this, foreign languages, end quote. Also in the adopting school, world language teacher A mentioned this barrier, quote, the problem of course is finding the teachers, end quote. Even though the world language teacher in the adopting school mentioned the insufficient personnel barrier, this barrier did not stop her from pursuing the adoption of the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy. The second challenge, lack of awareness, emerged from 12 participants in the group. As with the first challenge mentioned, educators in the non-adopting school were the most concerned with this challenge. Only English teacher A in the adopting school described lack of awareness as a challenge. Nevertheless, she expressed frequently through the study her lack of awareness. Quote, I just think the lack of knowledge of it, she said, a lack of knowledge in general, end quote. In the non-adopting school, counselors and administrators expressed concerns about not only educators, but also employers in the community not being aware of the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy. According to Counselor 2, quote, the employers may not even be aware what the seal means. How will they be educated, end quote. Also, students should be aware of the opportunity of becoming part of the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy program. According to Admin 2, quote, a barrier is knowing that it's out there for students to actually take, end quote. World language teachers and English teachers also recognize the challenge of lack of awareness in the district, especially about the benefits and the cost. According to World Language Teacher 2, quote, just making people aware and making them understand, the benefits versus the cost, end quote. English teacher 4 explained, quote, "Our district is so large, I do feel like it is important for everybody to actually know about the seal, to buy into the idea because not everybody teaches," end quote. The third major challenge identified by the educator group is current curriculum/course sequence. Counselor 5 suggested that an additional language to Spanish and French is needed at the non-adopting school. And she said, but for Spanish and French, and perhaps adding another language if we could, that would be fantastic, end quote. In this district, there are students of diverse nationalities, and only offering 2 languages limits students' possibilities to receive the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy. World Language Teacher 3 suggested that the curriculum should offer world languages sooner to allow students to go into the high school with more language experience. Quote, I think if we have these kids who are coming into the 9th grade with already having like 1 or 2 years of Spanish, we can build up our program. It is easier for them to be bilingual if they have more experience, end quote. Admin 5 explained, quote, we need to be at least setting up a sequence of classes in a way that is akin to our English language learners structure, where they're providing them with consistency, continuity, and time for students to become fluent in all of those areas of communication, writing, reading comprehension, and speaking, end quote. The last challenge expressed was perceived lack of student language proficiency. Educators from both schools expressed a concern with students not being proficient enough in English or in the world language. They perceive lack of student proficiency challenge as a product of schools with short language sequences and limited support for English learners. The challenges mentioned can be overcome with the help of additional personnel, raising awareness about the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy, curriculum course sequence redesign that allows students to have more continuity and learn additional languages. Educators can begin overcoming these challenges by first identifying them. So here's a summary of, I'm showing you a summary of the benefits versus challenges. And if you notice, if you look, the benefits, of course, are educational benefits, and there's a few benefits under that. Career opportunities, recognition of bilinguals, values home language. And then the challenges are, of course, insufficient personnel, lack of awareness, and then the curriculum sequence, and finally, perceived lack of English or world language proficiencies. You probably can't see it, but I wanted to show them to you. Perceptions. The perceptions held by administrators and counselors and teachers about the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy were positive. Beginning with the adopting school, all participants indicated that the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy was a positive policy because it promotes student engagement, gives students the opportunity to excel, and is easy to document, according to World Language Teacher A. Quote, well, the teachers that I have spoken to, and we have discussed this, see this as a very positive thing, end quote. Then the World Language Teacher A also said, quote, I see it as beneficial because it can increase student engagement and achievement, end quote. The English teacher hopes that the number of candidates keeps growing. She said, quote, so I hope it increases, end quote. Counselor A described the student as, quote, very excited about it, end quote. The administrator of the adopting school agrees with the other educators, and he said, quote, oh, it's positive. We love our students to have an opportunity to excel in whatever they're doing, and of course, literacy is definitely one of those things, along with their academics. So yeah, we definitely consider this a positive opportunity for our students to earn this seal, end quote. According to World Language Teacher A, the workload is not great with the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy. It is easy for counselors to report to MDE, quote, It is easy and there's not a lot of work, even for the counselors, because once students test, all they have to do is upload it into the system, end quote. The educators of the non-adopting school also perceived the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy as beneficial. They expressed that the policy is beneficial to students' educations and career. It also encourages students and staff to be bilingual or biliterate, as it recognizes them and promotes the increase of world language enrollment. Counselor 5 expressed a favorable perspective with regards to the education of students. Quote, "I think overall that would make them more marketable. I mean, as an employee, first of all, and then, of course, moving forward to college, if they are able to keep it up, that would give them a leg up into getting into various graduate programs," end quote. English teacher 4 positively perceived the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy for students' career. Quote, "It could be beneficial for them because I think it's a plus when students know more than one language. There are more job opportunities," end quote. Then Admin 3, who described this policy as recognizing multilingualism, said, "At any time we can give a good recognition, I think that's something we probably should do for encouragement and just having the ability to communicate effectively with a variety of people who speak multiple languages. It is something I wish I could do," end quote. Likewise, Counselor 1 agreed, yes, quote, "yes, a biliteracy program would be beneficial to students in my school. I also feel if a program that encourages staff to become literate in more than one language would be beneficial," end quote. Counselor 3 viewed this policy as beneficial as it promotes world language enrollment. Quote, "It would be beneficial because I think it would encourage more students to sign up for world languages. Our enrollments are always so low because it is no longer a graduation prerequisite," end quote. The perceptions held by educators from both schools on the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy is that the policy is a beneficial one for students and educators in promoting student engagement, giving students the opportunity to excel, and documenting student achievements by counselors. In addition, the educators of the non-adopting school view this policy as beneficial to students' education and career and encourage students and staff to become bilingual while recognizing them and promoting the increase of world language enrollment. The Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy was positively perceived by all participants of the study. In summary, the significance of these findings is that educators, including administrators, teachers, and counselors, perceive the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy and English plus world language policy in the state as beneficial, raising the status of non-English languages in schools. Important stakeholders policy implementation as noted in Johnson 2013. Also, it was discovered that a lack of awareness, also called lack of dissemination of information in Davin and Heineke 2018, is a challenge for the policymakers of the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy. As administrators have not fully received the information of the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy for its adoption and implementation. Another significant challenge is the perception held by both participant groups of insufficient personnel in teaching world languages, especially in the upper level especially for upper level classes, as barriers for schools that want to adopt the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy in the North Mississippi region. However, the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy has been implemented in the adopting school first by recruiting bilingual students who needed minimum support, then recruiting English learners who already were receiving support, and finally recruiting world language learners, Castro Santana 2004, while extending the course sequence, as David and Heineke says in 2018. In conclusion, this study adds valuable information to the previous literature supporting educators and policymakers on the implementation of the Seal of Biliteracy, and more specifically of the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy. The information gathered by the study on the perceived benefits, challenges, and educators' perspective is valuable to new implementing schools and policymakers in Mississippi. Educators in 2 schools in the North Mississippi region consider the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy a beneficial policy for students. Furthermore, the valuable information provided in this study promotes language education and supports the implementation of the Mississippi Seal of Biliteracy, a language as a resource policy in Mississippi. Thank you so much for your time. Please, any questions? Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the school that's exactly why. That was one of the questions. A lot of times it has to do with higher population of Hispanics, but not always, as you saw that. Yeah. And so that's why the whole study was what's the perspective? But they even though they have not adopted the seal, they do have a positive perspective. Yes, so that's a good question. But yes, mostly higher Hispanic populations have adopted the seal. Mm-hmm. Any questions? Okay. Oh, okay.
I didn't realize that learning a second language warded off dementia. I'm like, wow, we should just post science everywhere.
I didn't either until this. Otherwise, I would have been doing, well, anybody wants to enroll in my classes? Even elderly can, That's all.
Dr. Rutland, we're so proud of you. We congratulate you on being the 2025 Humanities Council Award recipient. Your work is admirable, and we are proud to have you here at Blue Mountain Christian University. Thank you again for being with us. To all of our special guests, I understand that there are refreshments over in the subs, so please feel free to make your way there, where you may congratulate Dr. Rutland, and if you have a question for her, I'm sure she will be willing to discuss this further with you. Thank you again for being here this afternoon. You're dismissed.